The twin moons of Orion 4 hung low in the sky, casting long silvery shadows across the desert ruins. The battle was over, but the aftermath still echoed through the sands. Commander Lysera Vale stood atop a ridge, watching the human fleet settle into formation above the planet. The ships, long hidden and thought extinct, now glinted like stars descended into orbit, a visible testament to humanity's endurance and skill. She could still feel the tension from the combat earlier. Elias Ward, the lone warrior she had met days ago, had transformed the battlefield not with sheer numbers but with precision, courage, and unshakable resolve. Each move he made had inspired his soldiers, coordinated his fleet, and struck fear into those who underestimated humanity. Lysera knew then what she had only begun to suspect. Humans were not merely survivors. They were leaders, strategists, and warriors beyond comparison. They had endured centuries in silence, and now, their return was unstoppable. Elias approached her, his steps measured, armor scratched but intact. "Commander Vale," he said softly, "you have seen our strength. You have seen our endurance. But there is more to our survival than weapons and strategy. Humanity survives because we value hope, trust, and courage." Lysera nodded, her mind heavy with thought. She had spent her career believing humans were myths, incapable of surviving in the galaxy's vast expanse. Now she understood the truth. Humans had endured because they refused to be forgotten, because they had prepared while others slept, and because they had never lost their will to fight for what mattered. "Captain Ward," she said quietly, "your people, they are remarkable. I do not know how the Dominion will react, but what you have accomplished here, it is more than survival. It is a lesson to the entire galaxy." Elias's eyes reflected the rising sun. "We do not seek war. We seek our place among the stars again. But the galaxy must remember that strength alone is fleeting. Purpose endures, and that is what we fight for." From her vantage point, Lysera could see the Dominion fleet in retreat, battered and cautious after underestimating humans for centuries. Ships limped back into hyperspace, carrying with them the realization that humanity had returned, not as a myth, but as a force to be reckoned with. Lysera's thoughts turned inward. The Dominion had trained her to follow orders, to see humans as weak and extinct. But she could not unsee what she had witnessed, the skill, courage, and intelligence of Elias Ward and his people. For the first time she faced a choice: continue to serve an empire built on arrogance, or honor the truth she had discovered and stand with humanity. "Commander," Elias said, breaking her reverie, "there is a message to send." He gestured toward the human command center, where a group of technicians worked on communication arrays. With a few swift movements, Elias transmitted a simple but powerful message across the galaxy. Humanity still lives. We are here. We endure. Lysera watched as the signal spread like wildfire, reaching distant colonies, old worlds thought abandoned, and even Dominion-controlled sectors. The words traveled faster than light, carrying the weight of centuries, the truth of survival, and the undeniable proof that the galaxy had underestimated humans. As the sun climbed higher, Orion 4 became a beacon of hope. The desert, once lifeless, now hummed with activity. Humans repaired structures, trained new soldiers, and prepared their fleet for the next stage of their journey. Lysera observed silently, realizing that the strength of this people was not only in their skill or weapons but in their unity and resilience. Terrace Keel approached her cautiously. "Commander, what do we do now?" "The Dominion will respond. They will send more ships, more forces. They cannot ignore this." Lysera nodded slowly. "Then we prepare, not just for conflict but for understanding. The Dominion believes in rules and orders. Humans believe in endurance, courage, and purpose. That is a different kind of power, one they will struggle to comprehend." Elias turned to Lysera, his expression serious. "Commander, your people must understand that we do not seek conquest. We do not seek to dominate. We seek recognition. Recognition for our survival, our history, and our right to exist among the stars. If the Dominion chooses to fight, we will defend ourselves, but our goal is peace built on respect, not fear." Lysera studied him, realizing that Elias spoke not only for himself, but for every human alive. Every word carried weight. Every action embodied the lessons of generations. She felt a quiet admiration and a sense of responsibility. The galaxy had changed, and she was now part of that change. Suddenly, a faint rumble shook the ground. Sensors detected incoming Dominion ships, faster and larger than those that had retreated before. Lysera's heart raced. She had to act. She had seen what humans could do. Now she had to choose whether to stand with them or return to the Dominion with reports. Elias noticed her hesitation. "Commander Vale," he said gently, "courage is not the absence of fear. It is acting despite it. You have seen our strength, our unity, and our purpose. Will you act?" Lysera clenched her fists, her decision forming. She had come to Orion 4 expecting to confirm a myth. Instead, she had discovered truth, courage, and a people who embodied the very best of resilience. She could not turn away now. "I stand with you," she said, her voice steady. "Not as a conqueror, but as an ally. The galaxy needs to see humanity's strength, and so do I." Elias nodded, a faint smile breaking across his face. "Then let us show them." The Dominion fleet entered the system expecting an easy victory, but they were met with the combined might of the Terran remnant, their ships emerging from hidden orbits, moving with precision and coordination that even seasoned Dominion commanders had never experienced. The battle that followed was swift, disciplined, and decisive. Human warships struck with surgical accuracy, disabling key enemy systems without unnecessary destruction. Soldiers on the ground coordinated flawlessly with orbital forces, reinforcing positions and neutralizing threats before they could gain ground. Lysera watched from the ridge, heart pounding as she witnessed history unfold. The humans, once thought extinct, had become masters of the battlefield, their endurance and strategy surpassing the mightiest fleets of the Dominion. Hours later, the Dominion forces retreated, beaten not by sheer firepower but by the precision, intelligence, and unity of humanity. Orion 4 stood free, and the message had spread across the galaxy. Humans were back, and they were stronger than ever. Elias approached Lysera once the battle ended. "Commander, you have seen what humanity can do. Our return is not only for ourselves, but for every world that has forgotten courage, endurance, and hope. The galaxy will remember us now." Lysera nodded, her gaze sweeping across the battlefield. She had witnessed the rise of a forgotten force, a people who had endured centuries in silence and returned stronger than ever. She realized that humanity's strength was not in numbers, weapons, or technology alone. It was in their will to survive, their unity, and their purpose. "You have taught me more than any academy or battle ever could," she said softly. "Humans, you are not just warriors. You are the embodiment of resilience." Elias smiled faintly, his armor gleaming in the sun. "We are only human, Commander, but sometimes being human is enough." As the sun set over Orion 4, the desert seemed alive once more. Humans repaired their structures, trained their soldiers, and prepared for the future. The stars above twinkled like witnesses to history, and Lysera knew that the galaxy had changed forever. She looked at Elias, standing tall amidst the desert ruins, and whispered, "Legends never truly die. They wait, and then they rise." Elias's gaze met hers, steady and calm. "Yes, Commander. And now the galaxy will never forget humanity again. For the first time in centuries, humans were no longer myths. They were warriors, leaders, and a beacon of hope for all who believed in endurance, courage, and the strength to reclaim one's place in the universe." And as Orion 4 stood bathed in the light of dawn, Lysera understood a simple, undeniable truth. Humanity had returned, not as ghosts, not as legends, but as a living force, ready to shape the stars once more. The galaxy, once indifferent to humanity, would never be the same. The rise of the forgotten had begun. The morning light struck Orion 4 in muted, dusty hues, casting long shadows across the ruins. Commander Lysera Vol felt a restless tension in her chest. For days, she had observed the humans, learning their ways, understanding their culture, and witnessing their silent endurance. Yet nothing could have prepared her for what was coming. Lieutenant Terrace Keel rushed toward her, breathless. "Commander, sensors detect incoming ships. High-speed approach, and they're heavily armed." Lysera's eyes narrowed. "The Dominion?" she asked. "No," Terrace said, shaking his head. "Unknown signature. Not on any Dominion registry. They're approaching fast, and the readings, they're precise, highly tactical." From the ruins, a figure emerged. Elias Ward, calm as ever, surveyed the horizon. His armor gleamed faintly under the twin moon's residual light, though scratches and battle marks showed he had faced much before. "They have arrived," he said. "But fear not. We are ready." Lysera studied him. Alone, Elias seemed unremarkable. But she had seen him move, studied the human's routines, and she understood that he carried the skill and spirit of generations. She knew instinctively that he could not be defeated easily. "Prepare your team," she said. "We stay behind, but we assist if necessary." "Observe, learn, and protect yourselves," Elias nodded. "Commander, you have already learned more than observation. Now you will witness action." The first ships broke the horizon, glinting coldly in the morning light, sleek, fast, and aggressive. They descended toward Orion 4's surface with precision that matched trained soldiers rather than mindless attackers. Lysera's team felt a ripple of tension. She knew the humans were outnumbered, at least at first glance. Yet she also knew numbers alone did not guarantee victory. Elias activated the planetary defense grid. Ancient turrets roared to life, energy lines pulsing as they aligned toward the incoming vessels. Lysera had expected old machines to fail. Instead, they moved with lethal accuracy, anticipating the attackers' trajectories before the enemy even fired. "Humans have always adapted," Elias said quietly beside her. "We do not rely solely on numbers. We rely on knowledge, strategy, and courage. Watch closely." As the first attack wave struck, the humans moved in perfect harmony. Soldiers darted from cover to cover, weapons firing in precise bursts, shielding vulnerable positions. Turrets tracked the enemy automatically, while energy barriers redirected and absorbed incoming blasts. Lysera could hardly believe what she saw. "Impressive," she murmured. The humans were small in number, but coordinated, disciplined, and fast. They moved like a single organism, anticipating each threat with uncanny efficiency. The attackers pressed harder, deploying small landers that splashed into the desert sand, carrying squads of heavily armed troops. But Elias Ward met them directly. He moved with fluid precision, dodging attacks, countering swiftly, and commanding the battlefield with ease. Lysera watched as one human soldier leapt from cover, disabling an enemy weapon with a single shot. Another rolled to avoid a blast, returning fire immediately with accuracy unmatched by Virellan standards. And always Elias Ward was at the center, calm, commanding, untouchable in his resolve. A sudden explosion rocked the courtyard where Lysera's team was stationed. She dived instinctively, covering herself behind a broken wall. Dust and debris filled the air. Through the haze, she saw Elias push forward, shielding a younger soldier from the blast, his armor taking the brunt of the damage. Her breath caught. He risked himself for them," she whispered. "For every single one." It was in that moment that Lysera understood the full essence of humanity. Courage was not only in strength but in sacrifice. Endurance was not only survival but protecting what mattered, even when facing overwhelming odds. Elias was not merely a warrior, he was the embodiment of his people. The attackers faltered. Despite their numbers and advanced technology, the humans' coordination, speed, and clever tactics turned the tide. One by one, enemy squads were neutralized. Energy pulses flared across the desert, lighting the ruins in bursts of blue and red. Lysera's team moved cautiously forward, assisting where necessary, but mostly observing. She had expected chaos, confusion, and desperation. Instead, she saw strategy, skill, and determination. After what felt like hours, the remaining attackers retreated. Orionev's surface was scorched, dusted with the remnants of machinery and sand churned by battle. The humans regrouped quickly, tending to minor injuries, checking weapons, and surveying the battlefield for any remaining threat. Lysera approached Elias, who stood tall despite the scratches on his armor.
"Captain Ward," she said, voice filled with awe,
How can one person move so decisively? How can a small force achieve this?" Elias smiled faintly, though weariness was in his eyes. "Commander, it is not one person alone. It is knowledge, preparation, and trust. Each of us knows our role, trusts the others, and acts with purpose. Strength alone is fleeting. Purpose endures." She studied him closely. The humans were more than mere survivors. They were engineered by history, refined by adversity, and strengthened by purpose. Lysera's thoughts drifted to her own people. The Dominion had grown powerful, yes, but arrogance had dulled their edge. Humans had survived centuries of isolation and prepared for this exact moment. Their endurance was a lesson that even the mightiest empire could learn from. Then a new signal appeared, faint but unmistakable. More ships approaching from a distant orbit. Lysira's sensors confirmed it. The Terran fleet hidden for centuries had responded to Elias's call. Elias's voice was calm, yet carried a weight of command. Commander Val, the rest of our forces are arriving. The battle is far from over, but Ariana 4 is secure, for now. Lysira's eyes widened as dozens of human ships emerged from stealth positions, their movements precise and coordinated. Even from orbit, the human strategy was evident. They did not overwhelm recklessly. They deployed efficiently, striking with surgical precision. You see now, Elias said quietly, why humans are not to be underestimated. Survival is not enough. Strategy, courage, and preparation turn survival into triumph. Lysira nodded slowly, awe mixing with a new understanding. The humans' return was more than a revival. It was a statement to the galaxy. A quiet, enduring, and unstoppable statement that humanity still existed and would reclaim its place among the stars. Hours passed as the battle continued in a controlled, disciplined way. The Dominion ships, unprepared for the humans' tactics and coordination, retreated after sustaining heavy losses. Orionov, once desolate and forgotten, now stood as a testament to human endurance and skill. Lysira finally allowed herself to breathe. She had witnessed history. She had seen humanity, thought extinct, rise again before her eyes. And she understood a simple truth: legends do not die. They endure, they wait, and when the moment comes, they rise. As the sun set, Orion Fee's ruins shimmered under the human fleet's lights. Elias Ward surveyed the battlefield, then turned to Lysira. Commander, you have seen our strength, our resilience, and our purpose. The galaxy may have forgotten humanity, but we have not forgotten ourselves. Lysira felt a quiet respect settle in her chest. She had come to Orion 4 expecting to confirm myths. Instead, she had discovered a living legend, a culture of warriors, and a lesson that even the strongest empire must learn humility. She looked at Elias and saw the embodiment of his people's spirit. Courage, wisdom, endurance, and strategy, all concentrated in one human being. She knew the coming days would challenge everything she had believed about the galaxy, her people, and herself. The stars shone over Orion, as if witnessing the rebirth of a forgotten force. Humanity had risen from the shadows, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. Elias turned back toward the human command center, signaling the soldiers and engineers to continue their work. Lysira followed, silently observing, understanding now that this was not only survival. This was preparation for a future that humanity would shape, guided by courage, wisdom, and determination, and in the quiet, dusty deserts of Orion 4, one thought remained clear in Lysira's mind. Human warriors were never gone. The galaxy had simply forgotten to look. The sun rose slowly over Orion 4, casting long shadows across the crumbling ruins. Commander Lysira Vale stirred awake, the desert wind brushing against her armor. Sleep had been hard to come by, her mind still racing with the events of the previous night. She had met him, Captain Elias Ward, and seen firsthand that humans, thought extinct, were very much alive. More than alive, they were organized, disciplined, and stronger than anything her people had imagined. Every motion of his body spoke of endurance honed over generations. Lysira had expected hostility. She had expected fear. Instead, she found calm determination. The human warrior had moved among his machines and structures as if he belonged, and as if the ruins themselves responded to his presence. "Commander," said Lieutenant Terrace Keel, breaking her thoughts. "I have finished scanning the nearby structures. Sensors indicate small groups of humans scattered across the ruins. Some are working, some are resting. There is no aggression yet, but the energy output is significant. They could be a force if united." Lysira nodded slowly. "Then it is time we understand them, fully. Not as myths, not as relics, but as living beings with purpose." She led her team to the central hub, where Elias waited. He stood silently, surveying the ruins, the soft hum of ancient machinery accompanying his calm movements. When Lysira approached, he turned and acknowledged her with a slight nod. "Commander Vale," he said, "you have questions. I will answer what I can." Lysira took a deep breath. How did humanity survive? The Dominion thought humans were gone. Every record suggested extinction. And yet, here you are, alive, organized, thriving. Elias's eyes reflected the rising sun, a flicker of pride and sorrow combined. We survived because we refused to die. When the solar wars ended, many human colonies were destroyed. Those that remained went into hiding. We built underground shelters, maintained old technologies, and learned to adapt to the harshest conditions. We did not merely survive. When we learned, we grew stronger. He led them into a large chamber beneath the ruins. Here the machines hummed steadily, energy flowing through conduits and panels. Screens flickered with star maps, resource logs, and tactical simulations. Humans moved quietly among the equipment, repairing, calibrating, and maintaining, each action precise, purposeful. These are the Terran remnants, Elias explained. A small population, yes, but trained in survival, combat, and strategy. We remained hidden to preserve our knowledge, our culture, and our people. Every human here carries the lessons of the past, the strength of our ancestors. Lysera felt a chill run down her spine. The Dominion had grown powerful, yes, but it had grown complacent. Humans had survived centuries of solitude, mastering technology and strategy, enduring in ways the Dominion had never anticipated. They were no longer a species to dismiss. Why show yourself to us now? Lysera asked, cautious. Why not remain hidden as you have for centuries? Elias's gaze met hers directly. Because the galaxy changes, Commander. Forces you consider stable are shifting. Others will seek dominance without understanding history. If humanity does not reveal itself, if it does not defend what it has preserved, the galaxy could be lost to arrogance and complacency. I came because the Dominion needs to remember humans, not as extinct myths, but as a force that endured. Lysera looked around the chamber. Every human present moved with purpose. No confusion, no hesitation, no fear. Just action, coordination, and quiet determination. She felt a mix of awe and unease. She had met many warriors in her life, faced hostile species, rogue AI, and even cosmic storms. But none had the quiet strength of humanity. One of the humans, a young engineer, approached Elias with a report. He spoke quickly, words precise, then stepped back, bowing slightly before returning to his work. Lysera noticed how the hierarchy operated. Respect, discipline, and efficiency intertwined seamlessly. This organization, she murmured. It is unlike anything I have seen. Elias smiled faintly. We survive because we must, but we thrive because we plan. Patience is our greatest weapon. The galaxy has underestimated us for too long. Lysera realized he was right. The Virulans, proud and powerful, had assumed humans were gone. They had grown overconfident, believing their strength unchallenged. Humans, in contrast, had learned humility, endurance, and strategy. They had grown stronger by waiting, surviving, and preparing. She spent the day walking among the humans, observing them at work. Some repaired machinery, some trained in sparring routines, and some studied old star maps, planning for the day they would emerge fully into the galaxy. Lysera could see it now. This was not a people clinging to survival. This was a people ready to reclaim their place among the stars. Elias guided her to a large, semi-open training area. Humans practiced with weapons and combat techniques long lost to the galaxy. Lysera watched as one human leapt, dodged, and struck with precision unmatched even by the Virulans. These warriors, she said softly. Their skill. It is incredible. How have you kept it so sharp for centuries? Elias's eyes gleamed. Because survival demands it. Humans learn to endure, to adapt, and to fight not for glory, but for life itself. We do not forget our purpose. Every day is practice, every challenge a lesson. The galaxy tested us, and we survived. Lysera felt a stirring of respect and unease. The Virulans had believed themselves the ultimate force in the galaxy. Yet here were humans once thought extinct, stronger, more resilient, and prepared in ways she had never imagined. Her mind returned to the question of loyalty and morality. Her orders from the Dominion were clear. Report back, assess, and if necessary, contain or eliminate unknown threats. But how could she treat these humans as threats? They had not attacked, not even when she arrived with weapons. They were cautious, yes, but peaceful. And yet their mere existence challenged everything she had been taught about the galaxy. I cannot deny it, she whispered to herself. They are remarkable. As evening fell, Elias invited her to observe the Council of Human Leaders. Around a circular table, humans discussed logistics, defense, and long-term strategy. Every voice was heard, every decision weighed carefully. Lysra could see the intelligence and foresight in every action. They plan not only to survive, Elias said quietly beside her, but to restore humanity's place in the galaxy. We do not act recklessly. We act with knowledge, patience, and purpose. Lysra watched them, understanding dawning. Humans had survived the worst the galaxy could throw at them, and in doing so, they had gained something the Dominion lacked: humility paired with unmatched resilience. The night deepened, and Orion Fo's twin moons glimmered above. Lysra found herself alone with Elias in a quiet corridor. "You could have hidden forever," she said softly. "No one would have found you. Why risk exposure?" Elias regarded her calmly. "Because survival alone is not enough. A species must reclaim its history, its knowledge, and its place. Waiting endlessly is endurance, but acting wisely is humanity. The galaxy forgets easily. We cannot allow ourselves to be forgotten again." Lysra felt a strange admiration growing inside her. Here stood a being who embodied the very essence of humanity: courage, patience, endurance, and intelligence. She realized she was witnessing not only a warrior, but the soul of a species that refused to vanish. Suddenly, a faint alert beeped from the perimeter. Sensors detected unknown ships approaching the planet. Lysra's heart quickened. Could it be the Dominion fleet? Or another threat? Elias's expression remained calm. "Do not fear. Preparation is our greatest ally. Let them come. We are ready." Lysra knew in that moment that she faced a turning point. She could report back to the Dominion, follow orders, and betray the humans she had come to understand. Or she could stand with them, learn from them, and protect the last warriors of a forgotten race. Her hand rested on her weapon, but she did not draw it. Not yet. For the first time in her life, she felt the weight of history pressing down on her, the realization that legends are not always dead. They simply wait to be found. And as Orion 4's cold desert wind whispered through the ruins, Lysra understood a simple, undeniable truth: humans were not extinct. They were hidden, yes. Silent, yes. But stronger than the galaxy could ever imagine. The question now was not whether they existed, but what would happen when the galaxy finally remembered them. Elias turned to her, eyes steady, voice calm. "Commander, the time of observation is ending. The time of action is coming. And when it does, humanity will not be forgotten again." Lysra nodded, a mixture of awe, fear, and admiration coursing through her. She knew the coming days would challenge everything she believed about the galaxy, her people, and herself. The echoes of humanity had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The desert of Orion stretched endlessly beneath the dim glow of twin moons. Sand shifted in restless waves, whispering against the jagged remains of human outposts that had survived the solar wars. Commander Lysra Val led her small Virellan landing party deeper into the ruins. Her senses alert, her heart steady but heavy with anticipation. She could still see him in her mind. Captain Elias Ward, standing tall amid the debris, a lone figure carrying the weight of centuries on his shoulders. His presence was a paradox, calm yet brimming with power, almost as if the desert itself bowed to his will. "Commander," whispered Lieutenant Terrace Keel, pointing to a cluster of partially buried structures ahead. "Life signs. More than one, but still very faint. Could be automated systems. Or survivors." Lysra nodded. "Move carefully. Observe first. We don't know what we're facing yet." The team advanced cautiously. The sand crunched under their boots, mingling with the faint hum of ancient machinery buried under layers of dust and corrosion. Strange symbols etched into the metal walls glinted faintly in their lights. Some were familiar, others alien. But the most shocking discovery was the evidence of human technology still operational after centuries. Generators, defensive turrets, even a shield dome partially intact. They reached a large, circular structure, half collapsed yet imposing. It seemed to pulse faintly, as if alive. Lysra raised her hand to signal a stop. "This is it," she said. "Whatever has survived, it's here." A sudden movement caught her eye. From the shadowed entrance, a figure emerged. At first, Lysra thought it might be another Virellan scout. But the shape, the gait, the armor, it was human. And not just any human. This one moved with the confidence of a warrior born to survive. Elias Ward stepped forward, his boots crunching over broken concrete. His armor reflected the faint light of the moons, but it was worn, scratched, marked by countless battles. In his hand he held a weapon unfamiliar to Lysera, a long, sleek rifle with glowing lines that pulsed as he moved. Lysera's mouth went dry. Her crew tensed, readying their energy weapons, yet no one fired. There was something in the humans' eyes, a calm intensity, a quiet command, that made them hesitate. "Identify yourself," Lysera called, her voice echoing over the ruins. Elias stopped, raising one hand in a gesture of peace. "I am Captain Elias Ward," he said, voice steady, resonant. "I mean no immediate harm." "You are far from home, Commander." Lysera froze. Her title had been used correctly, and with knowledge. He knew who she was. "How and why?" You are human," she said finally, almost as if speaking the words aloud might shatter the illusion. I was told humans were extinct." Elias's lips curved slightly, almost a smile. "Extinct? No, hidden. We survived. Not by hiding in fear, but by enduring, by preparing, by refusing to be forgotten." Lysera studied him. His stance was unshakable. His eyes, a sharp blue, held the wisdom of centuries. He was alone, but his presence filled the ruined courtyard. Even the desert winds seemed to pause around him, carrying his words farther than the Virulans could comprehend. "Why now?" she asked cautiously. "Why show yourself to us?" Elias's gaze swept the horizon. "Because some truths cannot remain buried forever. The galaxy may have forgotten us, but we never forgot the galaxy. And it seems the galaxy has finally remembered us." Before Lysera could respond, the ground trembled slightly. A low metallic growl echoed from deep within the ruins. Dust rose from the sand as machinery whirred to life. Automated defense turrets, long dormant, began to align themselves, scanning the newcomers for threats. Elias raised a hand. "Do not fear. I control them. They will not fire unless I command it." Lysera's team relaxed slightly, but the tension remained. These were humans, yes, but humans who had survived alone for centuries, mastering technology the Dominion thought lost. They were no longer prey, like they were hunters, defenders, legends incarnate. "Why survive alone?" Lysera asked. She needed to understand, to know how humans had managed what her people had long deemed impossible. Elias's eyes softened. "We survived because we had to. We learned when to fight, when to wait, and when to endure. Our ancestors taught us that survival is not about hiding. It is about adaptation, strategy, and the will to endure against all odds. Each of us carries that history." Lysera looked at him closely. His words were simple, but their weight was immense. In every movement, every gesture, she saw the resilience of humanity, a quality she had never truly observed in any other species. The Virulans had grown complacent over centuries of dominance. Humans had grown stronger in the shadows. Suddenly, a sharp noise echoed from deeper in the ruins. Something moved faster than the eye could track. Lysera drew her weapon instinctively, but Elias's hand was on her arm. "Wait," he said. "You are seeing only the surface. Let them come closer. Then you will understand." From the shadows, small figures emerged. Humanoid, yet leaner, more agile. They moved with coordinated precision, their eyes bright with intelligence and alertness. "Children, soldiers?" Lysera could not tell. "They are our scouts," Elias said softly. "They watch, learn, and protect. Even in hiding, humanity does not abandon its responsibility. We are a family, a people, and we endure as one." Lysera lowered her weapon, amazed. She had expected nothing more than one lone human survivor. Instead, she found an entire culture thriving in secret, hidden in the ruins, ready to defend themselves and their heritage. "Why show yourself to the Dominion?" Terrace asked, still wary. Elias looked directly at Lysera. "Because the galaxy is changing. Forces that claim to know history do not. They do not understand that survival is more than victory. It is patience, strategy, and courage. I reveal myself to you because you may yet understand the truth." Lysera felt a strange mixture of admiration and unease. Elias Ward was no ordinary human, he was a living legend. And she, for the first time in her life, faced a being who matched the stories in her history books and exceeded them. Night fell, and the desert air grew colder. The Virulan team set up temporary shelters among the ruins. Elias led Lysera and her officers to a partially intact building that served as a command hub. Inside, ancient machinery hummed with faint energy, lights flickering in patterns that suggested both defense and maintenance. "You maintain these systems alone?" Lysera asked, marveling at the complexity. Elias nodded. "Not alone. But without the galaxy noticing. Humans have learned to adapt not just to survive, but to endure. We repair, maintain, and improve. Time has taught us patience, and we have used it well. Lysera could hardly take her eyes off him. The way he moved, the way he carried himself. It was clear that this human was trained, disciplined, and seasoned. And yet there was no arrogance in him, only purpose. Hours passed. The Virellans observed the ruins, the machines, and the human soldiers quietly moving about. Elias showed no haste, no fear, only calm precision. It was a lesson in strategy, endurance, and quiet power. As Lysera watched him work, she realized something profound. Humans had survived not by avoiding the world, but by mastering it. They had learned patience, unity, and courage in ways the Dominion had long forgotten. For the first time, she felt a shift inside her. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not extinct. Humanity was something greater than legend, something to be respected, and perhaps feared. The desert wind whispered through the ruins, carrying a quiet, persistent truth. The galaxy had underestimated humans for centuries, and now one warrior, standing tall in the ruins, proved that assumption was wrong. Lysera sat quietly, her mind racing. Elias Ward had appeared to her as a single figure, but she could feel the strength of 1,000 human generations in him. The question now was not whether humans existed, but what they would do with the galaxy they had waited to re-enter. And as the twin moons rose higher, casting pale light across the ruins of Orion 4, Lysera understood that her mission had changed. She had come to investigate, to confirm a rumor. Instead, she had encountered a truth. A living human warrior, standing proudly before her, carrying the history and power of his people. The encounter was only the beginning. The galaxy, it seemed, was about to remember humans, whether it was ready or not. The galaxy had always been vast and silent in places, but for Commander Lysera Val it felt emptier than most. From the bridge of her flagship, the Virellan Strategos, she stared into the black expanse dotted with distant stars, wondering why the galaxy seemed to have forgotten her people's former enemies. Humans. Humans had once been spoken of in whispers and legends, a race that had risen so quickly it frightened the old empires. But the solar wars had supposedly ended them. History books claimed the last human colonies were destroyed centuries ago. Now humans were considered myths, nothing more than bedtime stories told to ambitious cadets in the Virellan military academies. Yet the reports arriving in the last week had unsettled her. Strange energy readings, irregular radio signals, and unexplainable traces on old planetary ruins, all pointing to a human presence somewhere far beyond the known borders. "Commander Vale," said Lieutenant Terrace Keel, her communications officer, breaking her reverie. His long, silver-furred ears twitched nervously. "We've intercepted another signal. Same pattern as before, encrypted in an old Terran dialect. It's repetitive, almost like a warning." Lysera did not answer immediately. Her clawed fingers hovered over the console, tracing the faint waves of energy pulsing through the sensors. Every instinct in her body told her to dismiss it, but a small part of her mind, the part trained in strategy and history, knew better. "Show me," she finally said, her voice calm but sharp. The lieutenant's fingers danced across the holographic interface, revealing a series of flashing codes and symbols. "It's simple," he explained. "Someone or something is sending the same phrase over and over. We translated it. It says, 'We are still here.'" Lysera frowned. She had expected reports of automated drones or leftover AI systems from the old human colonies. But this was deliberate. Someone alive. Someone capable of surviving in the most desolate reaches of space. She stood and walked to the viewing deck, eyes scanning the endless void. The thought made her stomach tighten. Humans were supposed to be extinct. If they had survived, they were no longer the fragile beings her ancestors had underestimated. They were something else, something dangerous even if only in theory. Her assistant, Saren Valek, approached quietly. "Commander, the Council of Dominion Intelligence wants your assessment. They believe the signals are either a trap or remnants of a failed colony. They recommend no action until confirmation." Lysera shook her head. "If we ignore this, we risk being blind to something greater than ourselves. I want a reconnaissance mission. Orion 4. That's where the signals originated. Prepare the landing party." Saren's eyes widened slightly. Orion 4 was considered a dead world, a barren desert with ruins from the solar wars. No one had set foot there for decades. The planet, it's uninhabitable by known standards, Seren protested. Radiation levels, constant storms, and the terrain itself. Our scanners barely penetrate the surface. Lizera smiled faintly, almost imperceptibly. Exactly why we need to go. History remembers the bold, Seren, not those who wait in comfort for the answers to come to them. The preparations began immediately. The Strategos descended through orbit, the ship's engines cutting through the thin upper atmosphere of Orion 4. Below lay an endless expanse of red and brown deserts, punctuated by jagged mountains and the skeletons of old cities. The remnants of human civilization, if it existed, were scattered like bones in the sand. Lysera's landing party consisted of her most trusted officers, Terrace, Seren, a small team of elite Virellan soldiers, and herself. Each carried state-of-the-art survival gear, energy weapons, and sensors calibrated for detecting life forms, even the faintest heartbeat. As they stepped onto the surface, a gust of hot wind tore across the desert, carrying fine dust that stung their eyes. Lysera's boots sank slightly into the loose sand, a reminder that Orion 4 had not forgotten how to punish intruders. She activated her personal shield, a faint blue aura that shimmered around her form, and motioned for the team to move. The first ruins they encountered were remnants of an old human military base. Half-buried bunkers, broken statues, and rusted machines lined the horizon. The architecture was crude compared to Virellan design, but had an undeniable practicality. Every corner, every wall seemed built to last, to endure even the harshest conditions. Terrace scanned the structures, frowning. Commander, life signs are faint but present. It's concentrated near the central building. Could be a defensive structure or something alive. Lysera's heart quickened. This was it, proof one way or another. Humans alive. But before she could order an approach, a flicker of movement caught her eye. At first, it seemed like a trick of the heat waves rising from the desert. Then, unmistakably, a figure appeared, walking slowly from the ruins, tall, upright, and carrying a weapon unlike anything they had catalogued. "Identify yourself," Lysera called out. Her voice echoed across the barren plains. The figure stopped, lifting a visor to reveal a face she never thought she would see again. A human. Eyes sharp, posture confident, muscles taut with strength. Yet there was no malice, only awareness. "I am Captain Elias Ward," he said. His voice was calm, deep, and carried the weight of someone who had seen centuries of hardship. "You are far from home, Commander. Why have you come here?" Lysera's mouth went dry. The legends were true. Humans had survived, not as myths, but as living, breathing warriors. A shiver ran down her spine. She had faced many threats in her career. Hostile species, rogue AI, even cosmic phenomena. But none of them had the quiet intensity radiating from this one being. I came to investigate the signals," she finally said. "The Dominion received them. We thought humans were extinct. We were wrong." Elias did not flinch. He lowered his weapon slightly, but his eyes never left hers. "Extinct?" "No, hidden. We survived when others thought us gone. We endure. That is what humans do." Lysera studied him carefully. She could see the discipline, the courage, the experience etched into every line of his face and posture. He was alone, yet she felt the presence of countless ancestors in him, a strength carried across generations. Suddenly the ground trembled slightly beneath them. A distant sound, like metal grinding against stone, rose from the ruins. Elias's eyes narrowed. "They are awake," he said simply. "We are not the only ones here." Lysera glanced at her team. "Prepare for combat?" Elias shook his head. "Not yet. Watch, learn, understand." The wind carried whispers from the past, stories of battles long gone. Lysera realized that Orion of itself had memory. The ruins were more than debris. They were monuments to resilience, both human and alien. She felt a strange respect growing inside her. Respect for a species she had never expected to meet, and for a warrior who carried the fire of his ancestors in every step. As night fell, the desert cooled and Orion 4 revealed stars sharper than any in Virellan space. Elias guided them to a sheltered enclave within the ruins where ancient machines hummed softly. Lysera saw that he was not just surviving. He was maintaining, repairing, preparing. For what, she did not yet know. But she felt it in the air. Humans were no longer the ones to fear for their survival. They had endured, and they had a plan. Lysera sat on the edge of a broken wall, watching Elias move among the machines. Every action he took seemed deliberate, precise, purposeful. And she understood a simple truth. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. She whispered to herself, almost unconsciously, "They are alive, and they are stronger than we ever imagined." The wind swept across Orion 4, carrying with it the faintest echo of a long-lost human anthem, a song of endurance, courage, and hope. Lizra closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of history, and knew that the coming days would challenge everything the Dominion believed about the universe and about themselves. Somewhere deep in the desert, hidden from the galaxy, a single human warrior stood watch. His presence was a warning, a promise, and an inspiration all at once. And for the first time in centuries, Lysra understood that legends are not always dead. Sometimes they simply wait to be found. The silent war had begun,